Hi everybody, I'm Patrick,
I'm Patty.
and Patty never used to like salmon, did you?
Not very much, no.
And you know, salmon's actually a healthy food for you. The oils in it are good for heart health and things like that. And I really wanted to get to a point where Patty would eat salmon with me so we could start eating it on a regular basis. And so
You figured out a way.
I figured out a way. And what is that way?
All I know is that it involves maple syrup.
Yes.
And that is the killer. That'll do it for me.
So today on this episode of Travels with Delaney, we're going to be making up my famous bourbon maple syrup glazed wood plank salmon. All right, so I've got a piece of fresh Atlantic salmon. Now, I have been finding this at our local Aldi's, and it's been running $7.89 a pound. So this is, and they sell it in these, you can either buy a large piece of salmon or you can actually just buy these small pieces. And so I always just get the small piece that way, and you'll notice on here, it's certified that it's fresh, it's never been frozen, and it has been very good tasting, wouldn't you say?
Very good.
Yeah. So I typically try to find a piece that's right around a pound or just under a pound to use. And the way we're going to be cooking this today is we're going to be using one of these cedar planks. Now, you can pick these up at almost any hardware store, a Home Depot, Lowe's, Menards. I actually found these at Costco a couple years ago, a whole pack of them. And so if you've never used wood planks to cook on, they're wonderful. The only thing you have to do is you need to soak them in water for a couple hours before you throw them on the grill. That's going to keep it from lighting on fire. But they actually work really nice for cooking the salmon. So I've already pre-soaked this, and let's go ahead and get our salmon opened up. And Patty, if you could do me a favor and grab me the salt and pepper mils. So what I like to do is not cook it as a whole piece, but actually cut it into the two pieces that we're going to be eating. And so you just want to figure out where you want to make your cut. And we're going to cut parallel to the grain. And you can probably see here, if I get it just a little bit closer. Okay, you can see this graining. I'm going to cut this way. I don't want to cut this way. I'm going to go parallel to the grain of the fish. And I'm just going to go ahead, and that looks pretty close. And sometimes cutting through the skin, which is on the back side, can be tough, so you really need to push down your knife. But you end up with two real nice pieces of fish. And I'm just going to go ahead and lay those on my wood plank. Get them on there. And then I'm going to go ahead and just do a little bit of some fresh sea salt, not a lot, and just a touch of fresh cracked pepper. Okay. And now we can set our fish aside, and we will make the bourbon maple syrup glaze that really is the key to getting Patty to eat the salmon, wouldn't you say?
Yes. I think that's the only thing I'll eat.
Yeah, no. Unbelievably, she eats the salmon too, not just the glaze. You don't like just lick off the glaze. Now, normally I just kind of make this up as I go, but I thought since I was actually doing a video on it, I would be a little more precise. So let's just take a look here. Here's 1 tablespoon, and that's about what I would normally do, is 1 tablespoon of bourbon. I have the Jack Daniels in the house. You could use any bourbon that you want. And then I'm going to do probably an equal part of maple syrup.
Vermont maple syrup.
This is actually, unbelievably, Indiana maple syrup. And it is very good maple syrup. Right? Yeah, it's very good.
I thought you were using the Vermont.
No, I've been saving the Vermont for
Special occasions.
For special occasions. Okay. And then now we're going to add a little brown sugar. Just we want to make sure it's good and sweet. So I'm going to add a spoonful, another tablespoon, I guess, roughly. That's a teaspoon, so we'll add a little bit more here of some brown sugar. And then just a pinch of some cinnamon. And I use this, I like the King Arthur cinnamon. It's the Vietnamese cinnamon. All right. If you don't find that in your local store, because we don't, you can actually order it online directly from King Arthur, but I just really like that cinnamon. And so all we have to do now is just stir this up. And the key is just kind of keep stirring until we get that brown sugar incorporated.
Already smells good.
And that's all we have to do. Now, the next step is going to be to light the fire and begin the grilling process. So we need to head outside. All right, I have the grill lit. I'm running, this is a 3-burner Weber, and so what I'm actually doing is I'm running the front burner and I'm running the back burner. I'm going to use some indirect heating. So just go ahead and place your wood plank. Now, if you only have a 2-burner, don't worry about the indirect. It's okay. It'll still work. But I would run it on about medium heat. Go ahead, set your plank right on there, and I like to go ahead right away and take my glaze and make the first application. And so I'm just going to brush it on, just like that. Okay. And then go ahead and close the lid. And I'm going to check that about every 5 minutes until it's done. And each time I check it, then I'm going to go ahead and glaze it again. So we're just going to let it cook. Okay, we're about 5 minutes into the cooking process. And you can see it's not much change, but I just want to go ahead and give it another little rub here on my glaze. There we go. Close the lid. Wait another 5 minutes. Let's take another look, and it's starting to get dark outside, so we may have to get some more lighting before this is finished, but we're going to go ahead, put another coat on. It's looking good. Okay. Close it back up. Let's check it again here, and again, we just keep glazing it each time. I've added, you may see a foil packet, I've just added a couple of leftover rolls from Thanksgiving dinner. Going to heat those up, close it back up, and we'll let it go. All right, we're getting close now. We've been on about 20 minutes. I'm going to go ahead and probably use up the last of the glaze. Just going to pour it on here. So we're real close to being done. Now, one of the things you don't want to do with salmon is you don't want to overcook it. It'll dry it out. Another tip that I like to do is I like to go ahead, now that we're getting some of this burnt glaze on the board, just go ahead and run your brush across it and then pull that up onto the salmon. And again, what it's going to do is going to take some of that glaze that's down on the board that started to caramelize, and it's going to give some of that richness and color. Now, I know because we're outside, it's Indiana, it's unfortunately in the winter it gets dark here early, so once we get this inside here after the next few minutes, we'll get a better look at it. So there we go. Looks pretty good. And we're just going to give this a couple more minutes and then we'll be ready to bring it in. All right. I think we're ready to pull it off. So I'm just going to go ahead and take that whole cedar plank and pull it right up onto a plate. And we grab my rolls here. Let's take this inside and we'll look at it. And here is that gorgeous maple bourbon glazed salmon. And so now we can just go ahead and remove it from the cedar plank. We'll grab a fork. I'm just going to kind of pull this apart just to show you how nice, and hopefully you can see that. Again, it's evening and our lighting's not the best, but nice and tender. And Patty, I think I'm gonna let you, let you.
Yummy.
Good? Mm-hmm. All right, so if it's good enough for Patty and she'll eat it, trust me, maybe you'll like it too. So that is my bourbon maple syrup glazed salmon. And if you have any questions, just let me know. I'll be more than answer them. Leave your questions in the comment box down below. And until next time, from our kitchen to yours, we'll see ya.
On down the road.
Good night, everybody.